Hey there guys, and welcome back to another video. It was WWDC just a couple of hours ago, so I'm going to take you through the best bits of iOS 11. Let's go. They started off with talking about the install base, of which 86% of users, of iOS users, now have iOS 10, which is insane. That's genuinely ridiculous. And even more ridiculous when you compare it to the 7% on Android 7. Yeah. So one of the first things they talked about was the Messages app. Messages are finally in iCloud, so when you go onto a new device, all your messages are there, or if you, for some unknown reason, have a problem with your device and have to restore it, all your messages are stored in iCloud. Not only this, but Apple Pay has arrived in the Messages app. This is going to be a PayPal killer. You can now send money through Messages. It's literally peer-to-peer transactions using Apple Pay and the Messages app. Long awaited, really. One of the most rumoured features of iOS 11 was huge improvements with Siri, and we've seen that. She or he, depending on which setting you have, now sounds much more realistic, much more like you're actually talking to a person, which is great, somewhat scary, but also great. Not only this, but there's also translations in Siri, which is really great. This is actually only in beta currently, but it will be something that's really, really useful if you're like me, especially, who doesn't speak any other languages. Quite shameful. But you can ask Siri now to translate a whole sentence into Chinese, for example, and if you're in China, that is probably going to come in useful, I'd imagine. Siri is now also system-wide, so you're going to see her or him all the way across the system, regardless whether you're actually speaking to Siri or not. So whether this be in the News app or in the Messages, everywhere, she's everywhere, he's everywhere, Siri's everywhere. They then moved on to photos, and apparently iOS users are taking 1 trillion photos a year. 1 trillion. Something that's good news for all iOS users on those lower storage bands, and no. Something that's good news for absolutely everyone is better compression, so you're getting 2 times better compression with Apple's new systems. This is going to halve the file size of both your photos and videos, which is great. One of my favourite things of this whole keynote is now you can actually select live photos and choose the photo in the whole of the live photo that you actually want to be the key photo on the app. Said photo quite a lot there. But that's great. You're also able to trim the live photo as you please. One of the other really cool things now in the Photos app is the effects that you can put on there. So, for example, you've got the boomerang effects, which they call bounce, but it's actually boomerang, like Instagram's app, which is really cool. They also have loops, which is basically a GIF or GIF. If you watch the keynote, you'll know how awful that joke was. But one of the coolest things by far is if you take a live photo, you can actually change the effect to make it a long exposure. So you get that lovely smooth, like array on this water, for example. I'm genuinely blown away by that one. One of the coolest things actually was the control center redesign. It's now all on one page and it's in kind of little modules, as you can see here. But not only this, is there's better 3D touch integration. So you'll see in the top left, for example, you've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, etc. If you actually 3D touch on that module, you'll get opened up to others as well, which is great. Unlikely that this is going to be customizable, but maybe that'll be a future thing. Please. They did also keep mentioning that the height of the display and how you can utilise the height of the display in memories, for example. Maybe a hint to the iPhone 8. Definitely a hint to the iPhone 8. There is actually a particularly cool feature in Maps. So Maps, for example, now knows which lane you should be in if you're on the motorway and you need to come off, for example, or the highway for all you American viewers. But without a doubt, one of the coolest things is that there are now floor plans of shopping malls and airports. Again, kind of blown away. CarPlay's also got an update with the phone with a do not disturb while driving feature, which is really cool. It stops all the unnecessary notifications. But one of the coolest things is within messages. If you receive a message, you can send an automated response. An automated response will be sent even, saying that this person is driving. But if it's urgent, reply urgent, and they'll get a notification whilst they're driving. I'm absolutely amazed by that, and in terms of safety, then there was the music app, and finally you can have a shared up next feature. This is great if you're at a party, for example, and you're playing music through a set of speakers from one phone, but you want someone else wants to play their music, so you can actually drop that over and put it into the up next as well, which is really quite cool. Not only that, but within the music app you can see what friends are listening to. Finally, this is something that Spotify has been doing for ages. Thank you. Then there came the redesigned App Store. At least something was redesigned, I suppose. You got that in the control centre. Not the whole OS, but whatever. Anyway, it was redesigned. Looks kind of cool. It's now more in line with the way the music app looks. There's also a new games tab, which is kind of cool for all you iOS gamers. But not only that, but now $70 billion has been paid to developers. 70 billion. 70 billion. One of the coolest things, and I think we'll start to see this from third-party developers as iOS releases, essentially, is an AR developer app. So they previewed this, and honestly, it's amazing. It can detect the surface, and it can put things on the surface. I'm genuinely blown away by that. One thing that wasn't mentioned in iOS 11 was group FaceTime. Don't know if that's coming or not. It'd be great if it was. It'd be weird that they wouldn't mention it if it was actually a feature. So one of the best things that surrounds iOS 11 is with the release of the new iPad, the 10.5 inch screen iPad now, iOS finally has an iPad specific operating system. This is a godsend. We've been asking for this for ages, and it's finally hit. There's now a dock where you can swipe up in any application and all your apps that you have in the dock will appear. You can click on them, it will automatically go over. It's really, honestly, it's great. It's much more desktop-like. There's also drag and drop features, so if you swipe up on the dock and drag an app over to the side, it will bring up that side view, and obviously you can go into split view, etc., things like that. Not only this, there's also a new app switcher. Looks much more like Spaces, again on the desktop, which is amazing. It also preserves the split view of each one, so if you've got one split view and then another one, it will preserve them both, and you can hit on one and it's just there. It's great. This honestly is something that I'm really excited about. Not only this, but when you're in split view, you can drag and drop images. Again, godsend. So for example, if you're reading an article with an image in it and you want to send it in an email or a message, you just click that image and drag it over, and there you go, you're done. Amazing. Finally, we're seeing the computing power of the iPad utilised properly with a specific iOS. There's also quick type with the keyboard, so you just flick and a hashtag appears, for example. There's also the new Files app, and amazingly, this is supported third party, so Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. All of those supported by the new Files app, which is great. Again, a cool thing as well is you now have searchable handwriting within the Notes app. So if you are writing in the Notes app, you can actually search what you were typing in Spotlight, and it will bring up the note for you. Again, genuinely amazing and kind of catching up to other third-party apps that are already out there, such as OneNote, for example. Really a welcome update. One of the coolest things, however, again within the Notes app, is a document scanner. I assume this utilises the AR, but you just hold your iPad camera up to the document, whether it be flat or whatever, it doesn't matter. It will scan it and put it straight into a PDF. This is great. You can sign it, you can mark up with the Apple Pencil, that's new as well. It is really quite impressive. The other thing is when you take a screenshot, in the bottom left hand corner you'll get a little thumbnail which you can then click on, mark up with the Apple Pencil and then send on its way to wherever you're going to send it. Another really welcome feature. So thanks for watching guys, that's iOS 11 and I'll see you next time.